Ludwig on last week. Attorney, bassist, election observer, a brilliant man. It was a super long episode for us, but I love that we have that option, and you'll see more of Al. I think he's a friend and a really invaluable sort of mind to have on tap here at the show. Al's really funny to me. Joe, you can hear me okay over there?
Mm-hmm.
Al's really funny to me. He has like a sense of humor, sure, but like he's easily one of the smartest dudes I've ever met. He's easily one of the smartest friends I have and most successful.
Probably like second down on the list, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's way up there, but Joe's always been my number one guy.
Yeah. How was your
But here's the thing. When you spend enough time and you play music with somebody, you start to kind of figure out that they're not perfect, right? Like he is obviously very articulate and enjoyable. He's like a superhero. He's, a adjunct professor of law. He's a partner at a very prolific law firm, but he's not perfect. He has tastes that are questionable. It's really great when you get to play like music with someone. You gradually get a peek into their like musical impulses, which come from a really organic and authentic place that's really out of context, right? It's like peering into like a truer version of
yeah?
that person. And
He's got
like I
some.
mentioned, he's very gifted and experienced, but he was one law school application away from being the original bassist in Puddle of Mud.
Oh wow.
Puddle of fucking Mud. Not Nickelback, not even somebody with the platinum hits to survive the critique. Puddle of fucking Mud. He will post grunge your ass so fast. He's from Kansas City, and he was, got referred to, oh, there's this band that needs a bass player. And he said, I think I'm going to go to law school instead. The rest is history.
That is
But just so you know, I mean, he's not all just brilliance and class. What are you looking at?
you got like a lot of soda on the ceiling. It's like dripping off. Wow.
From earlier when I threw the can at you?
Yeah. A lot of liquid.
I just, so expect to see more from Al, but don't let him come in here and swindle you and let you think that he's got all the answers, because he also plays bass.
Thanks. Jay.
PSA, somebody, anybody, please go work at McDonald's. Jesus Christ, Joe. They slipped me an apply today brochure in my bag this morning. I'm not joking. I can't make this shit up. I seriously, here's what happened. Today was really, really hard. I don't care what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but what are you really doing? McDonald's needs you, right? This morning was so bad. The lady that I spoke to at the box and then paid and got my sodas from were all one lady.
Wow.
The same lady.
Wow.
And somewhere in there, she also had the time at 6:30 in the morning to slip in an apply today brochure into my bag with my apple fritter. Which is excellent, by the way. It's like an apple pie donut or something. It's great. It's a fat little Debbie. Please go work at McDonald's. Also, while we're on the subject, to my NSA caseworker, the guardian angel of all my metadata, if that person is out there, please try to estimate the total number of McChickens I have eaten, at least in my adult life. I need that number. Go into my metadata, go into the Morgan Freeman, Christopher Nolan, Batman sphere of my metadata and try to figure out. I know I ate 5 in one sitting once, but I want to know how many I've eaten ever.
5?
Yeah, I told myself I was getting him to bring to this party, but I ate them all before I got there.
Like,
update. My Walgreens is no longer boarded up. Last week, we talked about my local pharmacy being completely boarded up since the week before the election, but those barriers have been eradicated, and they have surrendered to the horde, and they will allow themselves to be eaten by their own zombie grandchildren. Walgreens is open for business. Yes, you can clap for that. Mario Lopez was the buff candy, the young Latin gentleman that we couldn't place from Baywatch. We talked about Baywatch last week.
oh,
And it was Mario Lopez. We couldn't place him because he wasn't in season 1 of Baywatch. He's also made headlines recently because he's going to be Colonel Sanders.
I couldn't. That's so crazy.
I seriously dug into it probably for an hour trying to confirm that it was real because
That
it
guy?
felt so surreal. So, and he's also since been canceled because he said something on somewhere about how parents should encourage their trans children. So he's been smote by the non-binary order of celebrity cancellations.
Oh,
And I think they're still going to do the Lifetime movie. They may have already shot it. I don't really know how anything works.
he was such a good man.
We don't know anything about him. He probably wasn't.
Oh,
But on
well,
Baywatch, oh
crushing it.
girl, he could watch a bay. I'll tell you that for nothing. COVID is out of control, Joe. I don't
Well,
know what we're gonna do. I mean, is the flu really as bad? Is it really 9/11 every year with the flu? Does the flu It's 9/11 every fucking day right now. Like 3,000 people died in the attacks on 9/11,
yeah.
and I think 3,000 people a day die here right now every day. Every 9/11 was once. We talk about it every year.
I'm crawling through bodies just getting to work in the morning. It's crazy. Like you wouldn't believe it. Yeah, maybe
If you
that's
can still hear me, make peace with your God and do what you need to do to feel safe, because this shit is whack out here. The school shit is so whack. Teachers are going back on quarantine. Rural school districts have outsourced their virtual instruction, making it 100% asynchronous and completely overwhelming to normal children
mm,
or even normal college students, as Joe and I were talking about before we cut on air, is that it's so hard to learn something important on your own, right?
yeah.
I think we can all agree to some extent. I was talking to a mom who has MS and literally cannot risk the viral load. She can't send her kids to school because if they bring it home to her, she will die.
Mm,
Uh, you know, um, and her virtual schooling option is completely outsourced and impersonal, and it's a mess. And I mean, it's a shit sandwich. She either has to send her kids into a COVID denial environment, um, because her county is largely just not with the mask game,
mhm.
or she has to fucking uh try to help them with algebra remotely. It's not with it. It's not where it's at. My grandfather just passed away. Really great dude, and I already miss him a lot, and I'm very grateful that he's no longer suffering. And it's been a real transition to peace for him and my family. And I got to spend plenty of time with him, and I'm really at peace with that relationship and whatnot. And there was a lot of love there, and he was a really positive influence on my life. Going into his home since he passed away, he was obviously preparing for something, right? He was, without having to go into details, seriously, it's like a bunker in there. It's just above ground. And it's the food and the water and the ammunition and the toilet paper. My grandmother is a very safe individual right now. And I don't know exactly what he thought was going to happen, but she's going to buy a love seat and she's going to start reviewing movies for TikTok. That's what I told her to do. It's going to be really great. I just spoke to her this afternoon. And I think my grandfather was preparing for some kind of a civil war, very much in a defensive capacity. I don't think he wanted to go anywhere. He was immobile in the last year or so, mostly. And we can joke all day about alt right media and doomsday preppers, but my grandfather was not frivolous. He's been spending thousands of dollars a year stockpiling resources, at least for the last couple of years, maybe a lot longer. And why would a guy who hates wasting money start investing in ammunition and canned food and cans of water, like long-term storages of water? And I saw him just days before he passed, totally lucid. We had a lovely conversation. He was very happy to see me. I was they were they had something in their house that I needed, just a refill of something. I couldn't even remember. Um and he's always been crazy, but he was not demented, right? He was not His judgment was not chaotic in the end. And so just reflecting on so always saving money his whole life because they used to be actually poor, like genuinely without money when they were young and starting out. And so why is he spending all this money on ammunition that he can't shoot at the target range because he can't get there? And he'd have to spend all day there with I mean, it just the amount of it just doesn't make sense. It's obviously not a recreational impulse. And His wisdom and his observations led him to nest up and plan to totally hunker down. And if that doesn't tell you that we've lost like something in the way of our quality of life in this country, I don't know what else you need. It's really crazy out here right now. I mean, I was totally freaked out. I worked with a guy earlier today on a sketch for his, we have a guest today, hopefully. Um, and I was meeting with our guest, working on something else. And, just had the fear that goes into that normal stuff is just psychotic. It's just really nuts. Joe, I mean, I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been like a week and a half.
I mean, how are you hanging in there, buddy?
Pretty stressful.
Really? You look good.
Yeah, I was. I think the only thing that got me through the rest of the semester was the McRib is back, and um, my tutors, which I'm shouting out to you guys. You guys are really great. Yeah, it was very. It's very. I mean, I'm literally teaching myself this whole thing, and I'm very sad
Yeah.
and tired and depressed.
Cyberpunk 2077 is the game of the week. The level of character customization looks really crazy, but we definitely need more penis options.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 presets for dick, apparently only 1 vagina, and no scaling of features. We have preset pubes,
You fucking kidding me?
all presets. There's like 5 dicks.
The fuck?
It's not even 6 dicks. It's 5 dicks.
Oh.
And I just think if you enable that level of customization, you need to go full hog. You know what I mean? You need to go, I want to dial in the D. My wife and I just ordered these new high-powered PCs, which is part of the change in setup you're probably witnessing unfolding right now.
Full soda can.
And a big part of that is the graphics card. I got this really nice graphics processor,
Wow.
and you're telling me I can't dial in the D? I want my dick. I want my way on my futurist cyberpunk idealitar. I want to dial in the dick. You're holding me hostage. You're gonna let everyone plan to customize their dick, and then you're not gonna give them the keys.
What
Doesn't
do you
make any
mean?
sense.
What do you mean, like a code? You want to code in
No, I don't want to code it. I just want to be able to scale some of the features like you could do with your nose or your eyebrows.
like veins or
That's not a bad idea. Dicks have veins. Did I actually explain to you why I don't like having pool water in my hair? I think for the past 2 weeks it's come up that I was in a pool with Eric Greitens, but it was gross.
you have a lot of pool stories.
Well, and here's the thing, because there's a lot of anxiety around pools for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm emotionally repelled, like as if pool water was urine. Once it's on me, like I feel like it's already urine.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. Like if I swim, which is rare, I have to go wash my hair immediately afterwards. I don't like the chemicals in pools. I don't like the mystery of natural bodies of water, even if they're pretty.
Yeah.
I'm pretty germophobic. Like even pre-COVID, I've been pretty germophobic.
Really?
Yeah, I know I don't. People with hair don't usually look germophobic, but I really don't like having stuff on my hands. I've always been kind of weird about sharing
Same.
drinks or food.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked last week about how hard it was for me to have Eric Greitens' pool water touching my own pool water, and I feel like I left that underexplained. I feel like I don't. I feel like I didn't explain enough what my hang up might be with the pool.
Yeah.
And so here's the deal, and I haven't figured out from my dad where this was exactly yet, but I snorkeled up on a turd in a lazy river as a kid. I snorkeled up on a turd in a lazy river. I was at a southern water park, probably Florida, because I know we took a couple trips there, but it could have also been Kansas City or southern Missouri, somewhere near Springfield or something, or even
No, that's
Arkansas, really.
that's some Florida shit
But
right Literally.
but regardless, we're having a great day. There's a wave pool. There's like a wet jungle gym situation. There's a swim up bar, and there's a lazy river, and I'm floating through this giant lazy river that goes all the way around like 2 of these other features, and like figure eights in the middle. And I'm snorkeling along, and I'm sitting there, and and I'm looking, and there's something floating along with all the inner tubes and whatnot.
Oh no.
And I go to swim up on it to see what is that? Somebody lost like a something, and I don't have to touch it, but I get close enough to know that that's a fucking turd, and it doesn't matter that I don't touch it because it's a fucking turd that slipped out of some kid's fucking swim diaper, and its water is already touching my water. It doesn't matter that I don't pick it up because it's too late because the microbials have already, and so I've never really recovered from that.
Oh, gross.
Snorkeled up on a turd.
Okay.
You swim a lot, Joe?
No, not much of it. No, I
Did
can't.
you ever snorkel up on a turd?
Nope. No, I have not. Yeah.
So I started linking some shit here because I feel like it's been so long since we actually got to talk because our last episode was, you know, so exciting and so much. There was so much that we did get to so many things. I got some stuff here. Joe and I were talking about this, and we kind of mentioned this a lot on this show. This show is very much about, you know, schools, because that's kind of my working experience, and it's a microcosm of culture that I get to witness. AP put out an article on December 6th saying schools confront off the rails number of failing grades. First report cards of the school year are arriving with many more Fs than usual, in a dismal sign of the struggles students are experiencing with distance learning. They go on to explain that, at least this lady was speaking for Oregon, but they're having record numbers of failing grades, across all school settings because of the COVID limitations. And just, I mean, nobody has ever had to teach like this before. So there's no institutional memory for a lot of these restrictions or these precautions. Aliens, Joe. Former Israeli space security chief says extraterrestrials exist and Trump knows about it, but a galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships really are.
Wait, what is he saying
Okay.
by that?
So, former Israeli space security chief has sent eyebrows shooting heavenward by saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation. The unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not yet ready. This is from Haim Rashid. I'm going to just butcher that name. Former head of Israel's Defense Ministry's Space Directorate. So she was like their space lady. She was Mrs. Space of Israel.
Mrs. Haim.
Mrs. Harrell. So there
Yeah.
is an agreement between the US government and the aliens. We signed a contract with us to do experiments here.
What?
That's what she is saying. They've been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and space travel spaceships are.
What?
She did. The White House and Israeli official did not immediately respond to NBC News's request for comment. Spokeswoman for NASA said one of the agency's key goals was the search for life in the universe, but that it had yet to find signs of extraterrestrial life. So, conflicting reports from pretty credible sources, or from equally credible sources, I should say, if nothing else. Joe, I know you don't have patience for my alien talk,
I
but
was
here's
just
the deal.
trying. I was just trying.
Here's the deal. The technocrats are hoarding the resources and collapsing the mainstream system so they can leave us all behind. We're all a bunch of mouth breather, beta, wage slave cucks.
Oh.
They're going to leave us in the dust and they're going to earn a seat at the table with the Galactic
Yeah,
Federation.
do you
It's going to
think
be
they're
Kim
talking to him already?
Kardashian. Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh!
That's what the Israeli space chick is saying,
That is
Joe.
so
This is the
crazy!
literacy crisis in our country, people. I read you half the article and you still didn't know what I was trying to tell you.
I was well,
But that's the thing.
sorry.
It's just like in that Keanu movie where he's the alien.
Yeah,
The
John
Day
Wick.
the Earth Stood Still,
Oh.
where he's like, "Bro, there's a bunch of us that are from planets, bro, and you guys have a planet and you can't mess it up. So I'm gonna turn all the lights off, baby girl." And that's what he did.
Man. So don't.
Not a sponsor. Lion's Choice and La Croix.
one on Olive.
You didn't bring me a Diet Coke. I didn't get my King Beef and Swiss. I don't know what you want from me.
Oh yeah,
Have you heard about
Swiss.
the tiny house community they're putting up in the trap?
Yeah.
Bro!
I like the streets that it's
I
on.
love when people see this and they say, "Oh, tiny house community for the homeless begins taking shape in North St. Louis." I love that. We just talked about this last week. Have you been up there?
Right.
Have you been to This is just north of downtown. This is much closer to downtown than the area I was describing last week, but St. Louis has received its first set of tiny homes, small residences built to shelter homeless people in the city. This happened on Monday. Mayor Lyda Crosums announced the plan in November, saying the community would provide safe shelter and compassionate care for homeless individuals. That's a big if on the compassionate care. I'm hoping it's not just a bunch of shoe boxes with a bunch of schizophrenic people who get knifed to death by other schizophrenic people who need meth and heroin. I'm hoping that's not the case. It's at the old RV park.
Wait, so what happened to the RV people?
The RV park's been abandoned for years because nobody wants to bring an RV to North St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord God, help me, child. It's at North Jefferson and Martin Luther King Drive. We can put 50 tiny houses up. Why is that funny?
No, it's not. It's not. I just
North Jefferson and MLK Drive, 50 tiny houses.
No, it's not.
They're going to get a bed, a desk, a chair, a shelving unit, heat, and air conditioning. Fuck it. Sign me up.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sign me up. All I need is a box of protein shakes and a large caliber handgun.
That would be the real scandal, is if like a number of like people from the
If a bunch of the
county-
people that work for fucking GSI or whatever is up there, what's the geospatial?
I don't know.
There's an intelligence agency
Let's look
up
it up.
there, I think, that's building a place up in the hood.
GSI, STL.
It's like geospatial something, but it's an intelligence agency. They have a headquarters here of some kind.
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if it was a bunch of young professional?
Geographic Services announces expansion. Geographic Services,
No, that's not who I'm talking about.
not GSI.
It's geospatial something. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But I would, yeah, Joe, that'd be fun if it was supposed to be homeless people and the news goes there and it's a bunch of yuppies with their suspenders and they're like, in front of their tiny homes reading books with their masks on.
TikToking.
They're
Yeah.
in my tiny house. I'm in a tiny house. My house is small. I got a tiny house. Community pleads for delay in decision to close St. Louis schools. Parents and teachers want more time to fight against closure of public schools, according to questions aimed at St. Louis public school leaders on Tuesday in a virtual meeting with about 600 viewers. The school board are set to vote next Tuesday, I believe that's this coming Tuesday, on a proposal to close 10 schools and convert Carnahan High School in the Dutchtown neighborhood to a middle school. It's a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking situation to be in, but we do owe a quality education to every one of the kids in our district, and this is one option to be able to do that. This has long been coming, right? As enrollment numbers have dropped so drastically in the city over the last 20 or 30 years. But yeah, they're talking about closing like 12 schools.
Is this in your
The proposal would close Clay, Dunbar, Farragut, Ford, Hickey, and Monroe elementary schools, Fanning Middle School, and Cleveland Naval Junior ROTC, Northwest, and Sumner High Schools. I think my grandfather went to Cleveland High School. I don't know if that's the same Cleveland High School. The original Cleveland High School in Dutchtown closed in 2006. I answered my own question. Okay, so of the 11 schools, Carnahan High School has the highest enrollment with only 323 students. That is a tiny, tiny high school. There are 128 students at Clay Elementary in the Hyde Park neighborhood, blah, blah. So this is getting into the weeds. But this is a problem here in St. Louis that we talked about before, the exodus from the public school system, especially in the city. And that's part of what's kept the city and the county so separate is the school issue. And it's a big part of my history. If I had either fit in better in Catholic school in kindergarten or if, the school system was different, I would have gone to school in the city of St. Louis, where I originally, am from. But that's just not the option that worked for my family at the time. So, God is good. Uh, I don't know what we're gonna do. It's gonna be really interesting. It'll affect my employment, or it won't, which would be good news, I guess. Assuming the goal is to retain. I don't know because I mean, hopefully we'd be able to service some of those kids, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know. Now, Joe, I don't know if I had you look into this or not.
Hentai thing.
This is a terrible thing my brother put on my radar. He wanted us to look into
They put this on
that
the show.
that tentacle hentai started with Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
What
Now,
is it?
what is what?
What is that thing you just said?
Tentacle hentai. Hentai is Japanese animated pornography,
Mhm.
and uh,
Interesting.
famously known for occasionally involving illustrated tentacles in a sex act. Not something I am a big subscriber to. Yeah.
The subreddit for this is called "Goddamn Archduke." Mhm.
So the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand apparently led to the rise of tentacle hentai half a century later. So they're referring to that, not so much that he had an influence on it directly, as so much as I'm not reading all this.
So what had happened
Hmm.
was he was murdered,
Assassinated.
assassinated, and then for whatever reason they had to illegalize um porn, and I think as
Oh, so
yeah,
so the the prohibition of more typical pornography
yeah, led to
developed into a need for alternative forms of animated. Okay,
yeah.
gross.
Mhm.
Joe, you and I talk about this a lot, and I feel like if our guest,
Hentai?
no, 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 not hentai. This
Oh,
next topic.
oh.
I feel like we're gonna have to come back to that because I don't care enough right now.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's a lot of back and forth in our workforce. Like I feel like a lot of businesses and their employers or employees are at odds on a really like key level about really essential issues because of how strained businesses are financially and how underappreciated or undersupported or underpaid the employees typically feel. And it's all smoke and mirrors shielding us from the real criminality and abuse that's happening at the top, or at best, the unintentional pressures of our employment structures. It's really hard to know.
I don't know. I have another theory that just recently developed. I think a lot of it is that people don't want to be affiliated with, the poor. And so but if you go to a university and you have like the typical poor college student, kids eat it up. Like kids love that. It's a care package, blah, and like they're like, I can't even afford lunch. Like
Right.
they almost are kind of proud of it. Where if you have somebody, working night shifts at McDonald's, like they're not proud of it. They're not, and they hate it. And then yeah, they end up, having thoughts of socialism and communism and that whole
So do you think
thing.
the big alleged socialist movement in our country is caused by people that work the night shift at McDonald's?
That's a stretch, but I'm just saying that I think, especially when you're working hourly, and let's say you have a slow night, you have a Monday night, and you're still making as much as somebody is working on the Friday night, and they're doing as much work. I think I could definitely understand just starting to think, I should just be like I'm spend most of my time here, and some days are hot, some days are slow. I think I should be paid like this all the time. I could see that, kind of a universal basic income kind of
And
thing.
what do we do? What if nobody wants the job? Like, it's one thing to say, like, oh, I really love feeding people and I really love being able to interact with the community in a way where people can come and get food and they go and they live their lives. But how I don't think we're going to fill all the McDonald's across this great nation with people like that. I don't think they're all available. So, what do we do with the jobs that people don't want?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the culture that reflects the job, and I think you're right. And I think, I think moving to automated jobs like that isn't a bad thing, but giving people jobs that are hard that they don't pay incredible, but it's at least part of a culture that they're proud of. I think that's the real important thing
Because they,
is
they feel like they're contributing and that they feel like they're being recognized for contributing. And
there's some dignity.
Dignity is important.
I think, and that's why you have college students who hate, who live these horrible lives, but they're totally cool and they're totally proud of it because it's like, yeah, but I'm with all these, I'm with this, this group that I'm really proud to be a part of. And
Mm,
that's I mean, this is no research. I don't really know, I'm just saying that's my, when I'm high and I'm thinking.
really.
Mhm.
Elliot Page, formerly Ellen Page,
Can't even say that.
formerly Ellen Page. This journey as a society has been really, really rapid this past decade. I think I grew up thinking I was bi, maybe, but now that feels totally like trans exclusive and arbitrary. So I'm probably like pansexual. But in the Midwest 20 years ago, that wasn't an option yet. We didn't have that terminology.
Yeah.
So I kind of was thinking about this um, outwardly. I think an important part of the of Elliot Page's sort of publication of you know his lifestyle transition. I think it's really inspiring, and I think it's really important because it's not something we could have done 20 years ago. And I think it's really important to communicate to kids that they have the option to be who they want to be, even if it's not their traditional kind of implication. And I don't think it's any of anyone's business. I think Elliot could have kept that to Elliot's self.
I feel like that took
But
her
I
a long
think Elliot. But that's the thing is, I think Elliot understands it's a positive influence for the movement.
It probably took her a long time. Him.
Uh-huh.
Fuck.
No,
Shit.
that's a part. It's important that you recognized it and you're learning.
Fuck.
That's great.
Idiot.
So I reached out to a bi Facebook group I'm in, and a co-member described that being bi usually means you're attracted to at least two genders. Bi people are routinely attracted to trans people. Pan seems to mean that it isn't about gender; it's about the person. And pan people are a subset of bi people. At least that is her understanding. This is because they are attracted to people who are from at least two genders. Um, and she goes on to say she's happy to be corrected. But so this is really where it took me because a lot of people's responses to Elliot Page, introducing himself as Elliot Page for the first time, was that, oh, I had a crush on Ellen Page. Is it weird that I had a crush on Ellen Page when Ellen Page is now Elliot Page? Which is already sort of shitty,
Kind of complicated.
also complicated. Um, and so linguistically, I feel like I got lost in the sauce, but ideologically, I feel like I figured it out on my end. But I feel like my curiosity was really that. Of
Andrew
course, it's
got
not
it.
news because of how Elliot Page is going to live Elliot Page's life. That doesn't make the story news. Elliot Page is free to do that as privately or as not privately as possible. But I just my journey, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, and my issues growing up with the culture we lived in regarding those things was the way it was. And I think it's important to talk about these things for the sake of preventing that discomfort from later. It upsets a lot of people. Candace Owens is still upset that Harry Styles wore a dress a couple weeks ago. So the duality is sort of intoxicating. Now, I don't know if
We can ask him to start video. That's what we should do.
can I is that my privilege?
I guess I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
You can maybe make him the full.
perhaps. Here at Jacob V Weekly, we are trying to continue growth in spite of COVID, and we've had a couple guests on now, and we're continuing that tradition, or that practice here with our next guest. We are just making sure that he is in the round. Andrew, you can't hear me, can you? Great, really good. Ooh, did I hear a noise?
No, that was I unmuted myself.
You better not be. You better not be making noises.
Weird.
Weird. What? No, we're good. It's
Okay.
not me. No, he'll figure that out. Where were we in my notes? I mean, we're solving all kinds of problems today. We're solving gender. We're
Let's see.
solving the economy.
You went on the road. Really on the road to where we want. I just revealed that some of this is scripted.
What is scripted? There's no script.
Nothing.
Nothing's ever been scripted.
Nothing.
Um. So yeah, I mean, again, and Joe, I don't know your perspective on this kind of stuff, and people closer to your age, I don't know how that news, um, can translates over. I mean, is that stuff that you think young people are paying attention to? Or is it something that just older people are fighting over?
I can't speak for on the behalf of everybody else because I think it's also because just
Boring.
I'm a white man. It's like it's so, and I'm also busy. It's like it's really weird. I think some people don't have quite as much, I think, in their mind.
Yo, got it to work finally.
Jesus Christ, Andrew. I mean, I'm running a show here.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, good. We're on the trap phone.
Yeah, the computer audio is not going to work. My computer's not set up for that.
Oh,
Sounds good.
yeah, you're doing great.
Some video.
So, Andrew, I want you to meet my co-host, my friend here, Joseph Peary, good friend of mine, former uh music associate, and we do this podcast together now mostly because I need an accountability partner. Now the reason I wanted to get with you is because I wrote some stuff down here. And Andrew, you can hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great. So I wanted to talk to we cleared up today. I thought maybe Andrew and I had gone to high school together, and it turns out we did not. He lived with some of my best friends from high school in college, and they all studied together at university, as they say. But Andrew's got some new stuff going on in his life that I figured I wanted to find out about, but I also thought why not do that here on Jacob V Weekly. So Andrew, if you could just tell us, like, STL Tonite is your new platform, your new channel, if you will, and talk to those of us who may not know you about kind of just your journey to this point, to the extent that you're comfortable. Who is Andrew Gieselmann? What is STL Tonite, and what can we look forward to from you?
All right. I guess I can start with I did something similar back in high school, so this isn't like brand new to me.
Right.
It was kind of just more of like a school-oriented news show, I guess. So, kind of just like taking that format and applying it more to like everyday life is the quick way to say it, if that helps. But
So you're
what I
working
did
on
before this
yeah.
is, and what I studied at university with Cameron and Grant and the rest of those
Right.
guys that went to Kirkwood from Rolla, was engineering. I did mechanical engineering. So went to Ford for a full-time job right out of college, worked there for 5 years as a launch engineer, and kind of just followed launches around to different plants, from Detroit down to Mexico and then back to Kansas City before I ended up leaving. So
Okay, and so
kind of gets us here.
So yeah, you have that normal sort of, you venture out in your chosen career path, and then you do some cool stuff, and then you decide it's kind of not the place you want to be at the time. So what leads you to starting a sketch comedy show on YouTube from that background?
Well, I guess a lot of what I had to do at Ford was really performance art when it came down to it. Like we were discussing earlier, I did end of line testing. So essentially every day, like every morning, we'd have a big launch meeting, and a lot of people from the plant would come to, and we'd kind of present all the numbers from the day before. And so part of I had to present to that every day, and there's lots of different type of departments around the company, all that stuff to you, and make sure you're kind of talking to everybody, making sure everyone's aware of what you're doing. And like, you kind of want to make sure that whenever you're discussing an issue that, the person you're discussing it there is aware of it and like able to speak to it instead of like caught off guard, if that makes sense. So yeah, you're kind of like organizing things before you go in there so that things run smoothly and you don't get a lot of tough questions, if that makes sense.
So yeah, so there are certainly elements of your performance there that you want to carry over, right? And sort of ways that there's some of that executive functioning. I guess that makes sense. And so we're early in this journey with you, right? How many episodes of STL Tonight have there been thus far?
There's been like 2 actual episodes, and then I did like a debut sketch. That was kind of like a mini like episode in
like
and
a
of
like a
itself. But
soft opening.
yeah, this next one will be like the third one. So
Great. I'm really excited to have been a part of that, and we won't necessarily reveal any of the details there, but I just kind of wanted to talk about so some of the subject matter of our show is really really various in that it ranges from stuff that's in the news to stuff that's kind of following up from topics that we've covered previously. I had to update everybody about my local McDonald's and Walgreens, both of which are in crisis. What is kind of the overall subject matter of STL Tonight that you're kind of grappling with? Is it more topical current event stuff? Is it more observational? Is it, kind of what's your kind of goal?
that's a good question. I would say in a lot of ways it is observational, kind of like current event stuff. But at the same time, trying to present it in like a more of like a news format type of way, I guess.
That's really cool.
Trying to like that's it's kind of why I have to like stay topical and like stay current is because it's more of like a news format. It's hard to branch out from that and like do like something
So part of this,
way out there.
that maybe we haven't. I know you and me mentioned this, but so part of this is you're doing um, stand-up material, but from home without an audience, but not letting yourself necessarily abandoning that art form as much as just saying, listen, I still want to do it, and so I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to do it without the laugh track or without the response that'd be so much more natural in the room. So why is that a good vehicle for you to communicate?
For me, it like forces out all of my issues. I'd say, like, I can't really hide behind anyone else. I
Right.
can't hide behind the audience as much. Which is good and bad. I mean, I do wish there's like an audience there that could kind of use to
As a
try
buffer.
stuff out and go farther into stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a different type of format to do it. And like, I mean, really, it's the only one I could do right now because all the mics are shut down for the most part.
Right. So yeah, it's not like, I mean, because that's part of why we started a podcast is because we had talked about writing stand-up material, and we're obviously fans of stand-up comedy, as I guess everyone kind of is now these days, But so with and Joe has some experience locally working at a comedy club actually, but yeah, that's just not an option. Um, uh, right now. So kind of where is this an operation that you kind of want to keep mostly solo, or are you looking to build a cast of either characters or supporting figures for the content you're producing?
Yeah, I definitely want to build on it. It's one of those things that's like tough to do right now, really. So like, I mean, everyone's so everyone has to kind of stay distant from each other, and it's hard to gather in bigger groups. So that's made it really difficult and kind of been, the point of me minimizing it to like one person just in case I have to do it that way if that, were to happen type thing, things fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yes, Joe, please.
So would you say that that STL is STL Tonight?
Yeah, STL Tonight.
Would you say STL Tonight is like your take on like the real St. Louis news? Like you have Fox 2 now, but then you have your opinion of what is like the real St. Louis commentary on what's happening.
Well, that's the question, is because I think we're talking about news, but really it's more so as you would get the news in a monologue in a weekly talk show.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess what I was kind of going for is, yeah, it's like a fake news station in a lot of ways. One of like the thoughts I had initially going into it would like, eventually someday maybe it could be live and it could be like more of a, like Tonight Show type format. But I guess for me, it was nice to just kind of leave it open for now and see where it goes, and just kind of start with the sketches and building out the format as you go.
That's kind of exactly what we've been doing here,
Yeah.
which is part of why I reached out originally, is like our first couple episodes, especially, it's like, it's free to put them out. So we might as well learn in front of whatever potential audience. It's not like we're immediately jumping in front of millions of people just by hitting send on Podbean and starting a podcast. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely.
So it's definitely like learning through like any kind of. I'm trying to think about the entertainment I consume mostly being right now, especially since quarantine, streamers, YouTubers, TikTok, podcasts. So it's stuff that you're obviously going to learn it while you're doing it. You're not going to start at the most refined version.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why like I'm not really like charging money for it. I'm not, trying to make any money off of it. It's more just like build it out for now. Learn how, we'll learn how to go through the entire process. Like what I talked about earlier, when I was doing something similar during high school, I was just doing the acting. I wasn't doing any of the editing, like maybe doing a little bit of writing, like kind of having input there, but it was more of just like a team effort. So this is, been a completely different experience, kind of just forcing myself to learn the rest of it.
So where should I send people? People that say, "Hey, I need some new content." Where would you like people to find and follow you most immediately?
I mean, that's a pretty good question. For the most part, like I have like social media on like the same sort of username on every one. It's just at STL Tonite on like Facebook, Instagram.
And so I'm
I have a
spelling that
TikTok, but it's not really built
STL.
up yet at all. YouTube is about the same way.
So
at STL Tonite. So
I'm
just
spelling
wherever they want to go.
So I'm spelling that STL space TONIGHT.
No space, and then TONITE.
Knew it.
See, that's what because those kids, they spell shit different now. It's all all
Yeah,
that
well, see,
texting.
I
Ever
thought it'd
since
be
we
like
let them
more.
have.
I thought someone would have the other one as like an actual news show. So I was like,
No,
oh,
but
I'll just
this
do like the
looks really
comedy version
because
of
that was part of the
so.
thing is I wanted to make sure I could link it for our what listeners we have that'll hear this immediately. And I heard about this, your channel originally when your first sketch came out from some mutual friends just saying, "Hey, did you see that? Um, you remember Andrew? Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel. He put a sketch out." I'm like, "Oh, fun!" And then I saw that you're kind of starting it from the ground up, very much like how we're doing here.
Oh
With,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
completely
And
opposite of what I wanted to do. Like
well,
earlier in
right.
the year, I was doing stand up around town, like January, February time, and like I'd performed maybe like 8 or 9 times, but like starting to get comfortable type thing, and then everything shut down. So it was just like,
So that's
I would have
crazy. So I didn't do that.
rather got
I've
quicker
never
at that.
done stand up for real. So you were already getting a groove, trying to learn this new art form in the traditional local kind of sense, and then that was all just kind of shut down. I mean, I'm open mics will be the
Yep.
last thing to come back, I would imagine.
Sounds like they got sick of it.
Oh my god.
No, write that one down.
Jesus
that, yeah.
Christ.
Well,
Thank God we're not live right now.
Anyway, good time.
Oh, I mean, I keep telling myself, "Oh, I'm so lucky that I have a co-host." And then I get here, and I'm doing all the work. I got 4 computer screens up. I got 2 mouses going. I look like a crazy person. And then, oh yeah, he's been 48 minutes. Joe's been sitting there, so he could say, "Oh, I guess they got sick of it." And then cue the music from CSI Miami.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Nice.
I guess you could say this one's on ice.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dumb. STL Tonite, Andrew Gieselmann. That's STL Tonite. I guess I'd call you a new comedian in town, even though you're not new and your infatuation with comedy isn't necessarily new, but your kind of foray is definitely 2020 specific and something that like us, you're kind of you're growing a new avenue for yourself creatively. Can I ask you some questions, just following up on some things that we've been talking about on the show that we need input on?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay, great. So first and foremost, who do you think has the right to the Holy Land?
Like, you mean Israel?
Yeah.
Dude, answer it.
I have no idea, man.
You know what I mean?
You want me to settle this for everyone around the world?
Well, no, that's the thing. I asked our friend Alfred last week, and he wouldn't touch the question. But it's really just I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm like a hobbyist Zen Buddhist. I'm not even a practicing religious figure of any kind. I happen to be ordained. I'm a reverend, but I'm not going to Mecca. You know what I mean? I'm not going to Jerusalem's. You know what I mean? That's just not my ambition. So people act like it's a controversial question. We can come back to it. Overall, how was your voting experience?
Oh, you cut out.
Oh, how was your voting experience?
It wasn't the worst. I mean, it took a little longer than what I was used to, but
Son of a bitch. What time of day did you go?
I went like around like 2 o'clock. I figured that would be like the best to go.
Were
Like
you
people
voting in
wouldn't
the
want to
county?
go around then.
You were voting in the county?
Yeah, I voted at like I think it's like the Twin Oaks Multi-Purpose Center or something. It's right in front of the Schnucks over there
And did
on
you
141 in Big Bend.
listen, don't dox yourself. And did you see like a middle-aged man in a suit trying to tell you to go to a different polling place to skip the line?
No, no one told me that.
Okay,
I
Alfred
didn't see
apparently
anything.
was going around telling people to change polling places as an election observer, and I'm calling some shenanigans, and I wanted to make sure that you were free of any of that influence. So I'm checking that off of my list.
Well, actually, technically, like I think this year you could vote at any polling place. So even if you did that, I'd just be like, whatever.
It's all
You're
a
not
part,
really supposed to do that, but
it's all a part of the globalist agenda. So listen, we were talking off mic earlier about Lion's Choice. You said there's a Lion's Choice in Kansas City now?
yeah, I think there's 2 out there that they just opened about a year or 2 ago. So,
Not a sponsor. Not yet a sponsor. What's your typical order at Lion's Choice?
I'm not too crazy. I usually go with like the original roast beef meal, but every once I'll do like the
Large.
like Chicago style one or whatever.
Which one's that with the peppers?
Yeah.
Oh, that is fucking good.
That
That's a
sounds
sleeper
awesome.
hit. That's one you forget about.
I'm gonna get that right now.
Yeah, that's just a sometimes order now.
But right, but just if you needed that little extra pep in your life, I'm usually a king. I used to for years I was king beef and Swiss, and then my wife said, "Hey, how come you get the Swiss when the cheddar is like a nacho cheese sauce?" And I said, "God damn it, you're right. I've been suffering with this."
Oh yeah, I didn't say that. I do get the cheddar too.
Beef and cheddar combo classic. I mean, and with the fry, you get a little piece of Dr. Pepper or something. What's your drink?
Yeah, I'll go with Coke sometimes, Dr. Pepper other times.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm feeling that day.
Really? And you're not a diet guy. You're a full fructose?
Yeah, full speed ahead, man.
Full speed ahead, straight to the dick.
Same.
Listen, have you played Cyberpunk 2077 yet?
No, I've just been seeing like memes and all that stuff about it. So.
Yeah, so I mean, we were talking earlier that we really feel the need for more penis options. There's only like 5 presets for dick and apparently only 1 vagina. And I didn't know how you felt about that. But you don't have a dog in that fight, you're saying?
Yeah, I don't really even know what you're talking about.
Oh, in the game, so you can customize your avatar. And one of the things that everyone was all excited about was that you actually got to customize the genitals. No joke. I can't make this stuff up. It's not fun for me. I take no joy in this. And then we get there.
Yeah, I did see a meme that was like I thought it was like just a glitch that had happened, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's only one. There's only one vagina, and there's only like 4 dicks. So it just hit us the wrong way over here, and I didn't know if you had a hot take, but that is totally okay. So Andrew, again, I really appreciate your time, and I would love to cross promote some of the work we did this afternoon together when that becomes available. You're talking about posting sketches weekly?
It's really tough to like turn them out that quickly at this point. But hopefully by like the end of this week I could get it out. If like Saturday I think it was like at the latest.
So
but I had the other one like the other sketch film for this week and was already starting to edit that. So
I love that.
What we did was actually like should be pretty easy to edit too, I would think. So
no, I was happy with the quality and the lighting and the stuff we were getting. I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to leak more information, but guys, so Andrew Gieselmann, STL Tonite, find him on YouTube, follow him on all social mediums, expect updates from us on STL Tonite for the show. And Andrew, I'd love to see you back again when you have more content you want to promote and whatnot. And I really appreciate your time today.
Oh yeah, dude, I definitely appreciate you helping me out also. And yeah, whenever you want, just hit me up and I'll be down to jump on.
Down the clown. Andrew, thank you so much. I'll follow up with you here in a bit once we're done.
All right, sounds good. Peace out.
Have a good night, buddy. See ya.
See ya.
He's a sweet boy. You can go ahead and end that meeting there. My goodness. Joseph, how was your trip?
My trip
to the restroom just now.
Oh, it was great. I mean, you have a really phenomenal setup in there.
In the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on it. I felt like it was kind of in shambles for a little bit.
The soda machine is a nice touch.
Well, I've been trying to cut back on going to McDonald's so often, so I said, you know what? If you can't go to the Diet Coke, bring the Diet Coke to you.
It's like a full industrial McDonald's station. What do you get that like a is that like a how do you
It's you go to Restaurant Depot and you can get
the whole shit?
the whole depot.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, and the pipes just run underground down to
Alongside the pee pipes.
right. Yeah, there's pee pipes and then there's pop pipes.
That's great. I can like I run the club soda as I'm peeing. It kind of creates a nice flow.
Wow.
I get really nervous.
Wow.
I figured the club soda was one you didn't have to change very much.
Guys, that's another great episode of Jacob V Weekly. We're really, really getting there. We're really getting somewhere. I'm really excited with the guests we've had. I feel like we're building a cast of friends of the show. These are all people that I'm really excited to not just have had on the show, but I'm excited to get updates from them as we go through it. Joe's making fun of me talking with my hand. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google, whatever. You can also find original music by Jacob V.